Dear friends, in 1981, I was a student in the old city of Jerusalem, preparing for my rabbinical ordination from the Yeshivas Rabbeinu Yitzchak Elchanan. One day, I had to take a cab out of town, and during the trip, the cabbie, as they often do, they want to schmooze, asked me where I was from. And I replied with pride, Ani Yerushalmi. The man said, You're a Yerushalmi? You're a Jerusalemite? Really, how many generations? I said, 6 months. The man started laughing uncontrollably. He says, 6 months does not make you a Yerushalmi, son. I didn't realize it at the time, but the appellation Yerushalmi has to be earned. During that year, I was preoccupied and fully immersed in the world of the Talmud, as well as that of Yoredeya. Yoredeya is the section of the Code of Jewish Law which is to a rabbinical student what organic chemistry is to a medical student. I remember to this day the enormous emotional high I experienced as I navigated the high seas of the Talmud, soared the summits upon the eagle's wings of the great Maimonides, breathtakingly rode alongside the commentaries of the Shach and the Taz, and felt accepted into the fellowship of Rabbi Akiva Eger and the Vilna Gaon. To my mind, the most important contributing factor to my particularly happy state was, above all, the location of my studies, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. In truth, I most likely could have accomplished the same achievements had I studied anywhere else in the world. Indeed, rabbis throughout the generations have received their smichas, their rabbinical ordinations, anywhere and everywhere, from New York to Tashkent to Vilna to Shanghai. But I have to tell you, there is something about the air of Jerusalem. It felt as if I was able to accomplish 10 times more in the same amount of time there than I could anywhere else in the world. The quality of my studies seemed more profound, more meaningful, and more flavorful. The Talmud teaches us that the very air of Israel makes one wise. Avira di Yisrael machkim. And I truly experienced this phenomenon right through my bones. Today, we celebrate Yom Yerushalayim, the anniversary of the liberation of Jerusalem in 1967 by the Israeli army. This coming Shabbat has been designated by the Israeli chief rabbinate as Shabbat Jerusalem, or the Sabbath of Jerusalem. Back in the day, 1967, people found it hard to believe what had just transpired on that sunny day in June. The very soldiers themselves who were battling their way up to the Temple Mount under incessant enemy fire were themselves incredulous as to what they had just accomplished. One soldier even commented to his comrade, Do you realize what we have just done? We have not merely defeated the Jordanian military. We have defeated Titus, Hadrian, Hitler, and Stalin. We have just restored true honor to the nation of Israel. On this unique occasion, perhaps it behooves us to consider what exactly Jerusalem means to the average Jew in general and to American Jewry in particular. Do most of us truly acknowledge this divine gift? Do most of us appreciate the fact that after 2,000 years of exile, pogroms, inquisitions, and national degradation, and after the entire world has assured us that we don't even have the right to exist anywhere in this planet, we have been, with God's help, granted an almost messianic opportunity to return to the most noble territory on earth, Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. King David prophesied, when God will return the exiles of Zion, it will be as if we were dreaming. What is the nature of this dreaming? Most commentaries interpret the verse to mean that this is a dream come true. The nightmare of exile has ended. The people of Israel can return to their land in security and in peace. I would like to suggest another novel interpretation. A school teacher engages his class in a lively discussion of one topic or another. Most of the students in the class appreciate the lesson, but not all. It seems that one of the brightest students in the class is daydreaming. He's physically present, but he might as well be in Disney World. The lesson of the teacher is lost upon him because his mind is somewhere else. Our sages teach us that 10 measures of beauty have fallen upon the world. 9 measures were bestowed upon Jerusalem, and the rest on the rest of the world. Each and every Shabbat, we sing, "From Zion shall go forth the Torah, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem." Jerusalem is also known as Ir Shechubra La Yachtav, the city which makes all of its inhabitants Chaverim. So let us not daydream. Let us be wide awake to this lesson. These days, it is true, our collective consciousness has much to occupy itself with. Corona stubbornly refuses to go away. People are starting to have serious issues with their parnasa. How are they going to make a living? And we have seen reports that there is growing anti-Semitism in the world. But unlike our ancestors and previous generations, we have Jerusalem. And we've kept it for 53 years. And we must never forget it. This fact alone should afford us a great sense of comfort, because we cherish Jerusalem. We remember Jerusalem. If heaven forbid we would forget Jerusalem, well, as the psalmist said, we might as well forget our right arm. Jerusalem is our heart, it's our soul, it's our common ancestral city, which binds us to Jews all throughout the world. This Shabbat, let's talk about Jerusalem. Let us study its history. Let's discuss it with our families. Let's make it the central discussion of our conversation. And may we merit that this Shabbat be a binding force for all Jews, erasing our differences and uniting us through our common love to our precious Jerusalem of gold. Shabbat Shalom.